Today, we're going to start working on a line project. I always call this one My Name in Lines because you're going to create your name and you're going to fill it with all kinds of line work. So, this is going to be your name in lines. I want to remind you that if you draw a straight line, I know I've said it before and I'll say it again, you need to use a ruler, not only when you draw it in pencil when you're doing your sketch, but also when you go over it in Sharpie, because those lines need to be fresh, just like these that you're seeing in front of you. Let me go over some of the specifics of this project. When you write your name, you have to use, and I call them bubble letters, but it's just thick letters. So you have to draw the outside, the inside of the letter, and the outside of the letter. So you're going to draw the inside and the outside. Inside would be the inside of the zero. Outside would be the outside of the, not zero, but O. So you're going to write the inside and the outside. Your letters need to connect. They do not need to go in one straight word. It doesn't have to be like that. They can be sideways like this. If you can't read all the letters perfectly, that's fine too. This person's name was Moises. Strange name. It's probably hard to see what it is, but that's what his name was. Another very, very important part of this project, you have to have part of your name go off of every four sides of your project. So if you look at this side right here, this part of his M goes off of the paper. So this side is correct. Top side up here, he goes off the paper here and he goes off the paper here. Does this O connect? No, it does not have to, because he has part of his name going off the paper here and here. Here on his E, it goes off the paper here, here, and here. So does this side of the paper correct? Yes, it is. Now let's go down to the bottom. It goes off here, here, and here. So it's perfect. Does this S touch the top or the bottom? No, and it does not have to. So the requirements are part of your name goes off the edge of all four sides of your paper. Very important. Let's go to another one and look. All right, so this one, the picture's not as good, but you can see where they go off all four sides. Now, her name was Ashley. Look how big she did the A. S, H. She got to about this L and said, I don't think this is going to fit. So if you have a long name, you might want to think about spacing your letters out, like about how much space you're going to get for each one. Here is Britt, and if I was in class, I'd ask you what's wrong with this picture, but I'm just going to tell you. Does it go off of this side of her paper? No, it does not. So they did not get full credit for this project, and they got points taken off because they did not do this part properly. Here is a Colby. Colby went off all four sides of the paper. All of their letters don't exactly match. All right, so this one was a really strange one. I don't remember. Her name was like Lulu or something. But all of her lines are done with rulers. They go off all four sides of the paper. Hers ended up being very, very abstract. So you can't necessarily read her name, but which was okay because she did meet all of the requirements for this project. Here's a Maddie. And you can also see that they did the line work in all the negative spaces, colored really good inside these lines. You need to make sure you do not color outside. You're going to color the whole word in black. So you need to make sure that when you outline it with a pretty straight, purposeful line, and then you fill in those lines with a black Sharpie without going outside of your line, because you cannot white out. So if she went outside of her line, she would have to thicken the line up a little more with her ruler to hide the spot where she went outside the line. Here is a Peyton. Peyton goes off the side of the paper over here, so yes. Here and here, yes. Here and yes, and at the bottom of the page. You can find things to draw around, which is fine to create your lines. You can make your lines thicker and thinner. You can fill in more spaces besides just what your name is. That is fine as well. Be creative as you can on this project. You can see that Isaiah here went off all four sides of their paper. They did not really go over the line quality really well of like their circles. And this is not the most interesting way to write their name. Here, this squiggle for no reason is probably not a good idea, and you probably will lose points for it unless it is done in a really, really nice way. But this one right here would be a probably not. All right, this daisy is very nice. It ended up with abstract designs. You can tell she used her rulers on her lines. She did do some dots here, which is fine because technically dots in a row is a line of dots. So she did some really cool patterns here. You can look up patterns online and find really nice lines or patterns that you can look at. So you don't have to come up with them all by yourself. She did thicken, like her S is very big, which causes a big emphasis in the center, which is neat. That one's good as well. And then you can tell she went off all four sides of her paper. Hayden, I think. Hey, yep, maybe. No, Haley. It's a Haley. Haydley. Hadley. This was Hadley. Okay, so there's a D in here. So combining uppercase letters and lowercase letters sometimes doesn't work out right because you might not be able to see it as well. And if your marker is getting lines like this when you color your black, do you see the difference in this and the ones we've seen before? Because if your Sharpie is running out, you might need to get a new Sharpie because that is a very negative when I look at the final project. Again, some of this is very sloppy. There was Walter. His name, the way he put his letters was very neat and nice. You can look up fonts, 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 and it will show you different ways to write your letters. So you might want to consider doing that. Look up different fonts for different letter types. This person definitely used a different font. Look at that K. It's very swirly. It is not the typical font that you would write the name in. All right, this was Marissa, and then even here, her A went way off the page, so it kind of might look like an H, but it's still, if you knew her name was Marissa, it would make sense. And her name was long, so she did have to figure out a creative way to jumble up her letters to make them all fit on her page, and you can still see what all the letters are. Here is Tyler. Tyler did a really cool job. And here where he did his T and his A, he used the same stick for the T as he did for the A, which, or maybe it was Taylor. I think it was Taylor. This was Taylor. And then there's a Y and there's L in here somewhere and an ER. But I like this design. I really like his like lightning bolts kind of look. Really clean, nice lines. Okay. So what you're going to do today is watch this video, and I want you to just try to do your lines of your name. And remember, it has to be double thickness. You can't just draw a T. You have to draw the top of the T and the bottom. I mean, like a bubble letter of all of your letters, combine them up and make just the drawing part of your name, and then I'll give you instructions on the next part on the next day.